She taped a handwritten note to the handlebars of a rust-eaten motorcycle outside her small house. Prayer. A plea. A goodbye. She thought no one would ever see it. But the next morning, 30 Hells Angels engines thundered down her street, and her world shifted. Before we start the story, tell us wherever you're watching from. Tell us in the comments, what touched you most in this story? The town of Redwater Ridge had the kind of silence that settled deep, wide roads, dusted storefronts, and a sky that felt too big for the people living beneath it. Mara Jensen, recently widowed at 56, moved through that silence every day, carrying grief like an invisible sack across her shoulders. Her husband, Caleb Jensen, had passed 6 months earlier, a man whose laughter once filled every corner of their home. Now, only the ticking of the porch clock kept her company. His old motorcycle, a dented '89 Harley that hadn't run in years, sat leaning against their shed like a sleeping giant. Caleb always meant to fix it. "When I retire," he used to say, "we'll ride the coastline together." Mara couldn't bring herself to sell it, but she couldn't bear to see it either. Last night, after sorting through his old toolbox, she found a faded photo of Caleb with the Hells Angels Iron Mesa Charter, brothers he hadn't seen in decades. On impulse, trembling, she taped a note to the bike. "If anyone still remembers Caleb Jensen, please take this bike. I can't carry this alone anymore." She didn't expect anyone to answer. Dawn crept over Redwater Ridge with soft peach light. Mara shuffled onto her porch in slippers, bracing her cardigan against the cool air. She nearly dropped her mug. Her street, which was usually empty except for Mrs. Alden walking her poodle, was lined with motorcycles. Dozens. Chrome glinted like sunlight on water. Leather jackets, patches, boots. 30 Hells Angels stood silently in her yard. The man at the front stepped forward, broad-shouldered, gray-bearded, weathered like canyon rock. His name patch read, Rook. His voice was low, steady. "Ma'am, we got your note." Mara blinked rapidly. I didn't think anyone would see it." Rook nodded once. "We saw." He removed his sunglasses, revealing kind eyes beneath the rough exterior. "Caleb Jensen rode with us back in the day. Good man. Loyal. Saved my hide more than once." Mara pressed a hand to her mouth. "He never talked about that." Rook chuckled softly. "Caleb talked less than he rode." The others stepped forward, removing their helmets in respect. Mara felt her knees weaken at the sight. 30 bikers standing in reverent quiet for a man who never believed he mattered. "We're here," Rook said gently. "For him and for you." Mara led them around the house, heart pounding as she approached the rusty Harley. It looked smaller now, swallowed by weeds and time. Rook crouched beside it, running a calloused hand over the tank. "He kept her," he murmured. "All these years." Another biker, a tall woman with auburn braids named Jess Longshot Mercer, examined the cracked leather seat. "This ain't junk," she said. "It's just sleeping." Mara's voice wavered. "I'm sorry for its condition. I meant to restore it, but after Caleb passed, I couldn't touch it." Rook stood and faced her. "You don't apologize for grief." His words hit her harder than she expected. Jess added gently, "Bikes hold memories. Sometimes they hurt more than they help." Mara nodded, throat tight. Rook continued, "Caleb was one of us. He deserves more than a slow fade into rust. We want to take the bike, restore it, ride it in his honor." Mara's breath hitched. "You would do that? For a brother?" Rook said, "Always." She wiped her eyes, giving a trembling nod. "Then please, take it. I just want to see it alive again." Jess smiled softly. "Ma'am, you will." The bikers surrounded the Harley with reverence, like pallbearers honoring a fallen friend. They lifted it gently, careful not to damage the fragile frame. Mara expected noise, rowdiness, swagger. But what she saw was ceremony, respect, Brotherhood in its purest form. Rook nodded toward the truck they'd brought. We'll take her to Iron Mesa. The boys'll get started right away. Mara clasped her hands. It means more than I can say. Rook gave a half-smile. Caleb showed up for us once. Time we returned the favor. As they secured the bike, a younger biker approached Mara, his patch red tied. He held a folded denim vest. Caleb left this with us years ago, he said softly. Said he'd come back for it someday. Maybe you should have it now. Mara touched the worn fabric reverently. The smell of dust, oil, and faint aftershave nearly buckled her. He really meant something to you, she whispered. Tide nodded. He meant a whole lot. As the truck door slammed shut, engines roared to life. Not aggressive, honoring. 30 bikes rumbled in unison as they saluted her. Mara held Caleb's vest to her chest and whispered, "Thank you." That night, Mara sat at her kitchen table. Caleb's vest draped across her lap like a warm memory. She traced the stitching, the patches, the faint smell of road dust that still clung to it. For the first time in months, she didn't feel alone. Meanwhile, far from Redwater Ridge, the Iron Mesa clubhouse came alive. Rook rolled Caleb's bike into the center bay, mechanics gathering around like surgeons preparing for delicate work. We're rebuilding her from the ground up, Rook declared. Every bolt, every gear, every piece of her soul. Longshot cracked her knuckles. I'll handle the engine. Tide called dibs on paintwork. Others stepped in with offers, chrome restoration, wiring, seat stitching. It wasn't just about fixing a bike. It was about resurrecting a brother's memory. Rook placed a hand on the dented tank. We don't do this often, he murmured. But when a widow leaves a note like that, you answer. The crew nodded. Tools whirred. Sparks flew. Music filled the garage. Caleb's Harley, long silent, felt the warmth of hands and the hum of life returning. And at home, Mara whispered to the empty room, maybe tomorrow will hurt a little less. By the third day, the Iron Mesa garage had transformed into a shrine of dedication. The old Harley sat lifted on a stand, stripped down to its skeleton, every piece laid out on clean towels like sacred relics. Longshot inspected the pistons with surgical precision. Tide sanded the tank smooth, humming softly. Even the quieter bikers, men with names like Flint, Mako, and Crow, stayed late, offering spare parts or steady hands. This bike's seen miles, Flint murmured, and it'll see more. Back in Redwater Ridge, Mara kept glancing at the clock, wondering what progress they'd made, wondering if they regretted taking on such an impossible task. She baked a batch of blueberry muffins, something she hadn't done since Caleb was alive, and thought about driving them over. But fear stopped her. Fear of intruding. Fear of matching too little. Instead, she stepped outside at dusk, the wind brushing her hair, and whispered to the quiet street, "Caleb, they're fixing your bike." She felt something like warmth pass through her chest. A memory. Presence. She wasn't sure. But for the first time in months, she didn't close the door right away. She stood there and breathed out on the fifth evening, as the Harley's rebuilt frame gleamed under shop lights. Rook wiped his hands on a rag and said, "Tomorrow we take it to the widow. She deserves to see the progress." Longshot agreed. "She deserves more than that." Tide added, "She deserves a ride when it's done." Rook smiled softly. "We'll ask when she's ready." Meanwhile, Mara sat alone at her kitchen table, clutching Caleb's old vest. She found herself talking to it, something she'd been too ashamed to admit even to herself. "I don't know who I am without you," she whispered. "I'm trying. I really am." Her voice trembled. "But I feel so invisible." A knock at the door startled her. She opened it to find a young woman from next door, Ellie Harper, holding a flyer. "Mara? They're hosting a neighborhood memorial ride next month. You're welcome to join." Mara tried to smile. "I don't ride." Ellie hesitated. "But the angels, They're fixing Caleb's bike, right? Mara's eyes widened. You know? Ellie nodded. Everyone does. They talk about you like family. Mara felt her breath catch. Family. A word she thought she'd lost forever. The next morning, Mara mustered her courage and baked another batch of muffins. Blueberry, lemon zest, and cinnamon sugar, Caleb's favorite combination. She wrapped them carefully, rehearsing what she might say. Thank you felt too small. She drove toward the Iron Mesa clubhouse, heart pounding, palms sweating against the steering wheel. When she arrived, she hesitated at the edge of the parking lot, intimidated by the rows of bikes and leather jackets. Before she could convince herself to turn back, Tide spotted her from the doorway. Mara, he called, waving enthusiastically. Come on in. Rook stepped out next, wiping grease from his hands. Good to see you, ma'am. Mara clutched the muffin tin, smiling nervously. I brought a little something. Longshot emerged behind them. If those smell anything like they look, you just became our favorite visitor. The bikers laughed warmly, dissolving her fear. They led her inside the garage, bright, loud, filled with the scent of motor oil and metal polish. When she saw the Harley, no longer rusted, but reborn with fresh chrome and a smooth, newly primed tank, her knees weakened. Caleb, she whispered. Rook steadied her. He'd be proud, Mara. Real proud. Mara stepped closer, fingertips trembling as they hovered over the polished frame. It looks alive again, she whispered. Longshot smiled. Not done yet, but she's breathing. Tide added. We were thinking of painting the tank midnight blue, Caleb's old preference. Mara's eyes widened. You knew that. He told stories, Rook said gently. More than he realized. Mara touched the cool metal, tears welling. I haven't heard his name spoken this kindly in so long. Tide offered her a stool. Sit. Stay a while. She did. And as she watched them work, laughing, arguing good-naturedly, teasing each other like siblings, Mara felt a warmth she hadn't felt in half a year. Not pity. Not polite sympathy. Belonging. He saved my life once, Rook said suddenly, tightening a bolt. Back in '98. Stood between me and a man with a knife. Caleb didn't hesitate. Mara's breath stilled. He never told me. Rook shrugged. He didn't do it for praise. He did it because that's who he was. Mara smiled through tears. He would have loved seeing you all again. Longshot wiped her hands on a rag. Then he's seeing us now. The garage fell into still, respectful silence. As Mara prepared to leave, Rook walked her to her car. We'll have the bike finished soon, he said. But there's something else. Mara tilted her head. Something else. He hesitated, rare for a man who carried confidence like a second skin. Caleb always talked about wanting you to ride with him. That was his dream. Mara's throat tightened. I know, but I don't ride. Rook smiled gently. You don't have to. When she's finished, we'd like to give you a memory ride. You ride in the support truck, or on the back of a bike if you choose. Entire charter. In his honor. Mara's hand covered her mouth as emotion surged. I wouldn't want to bother anyone. Rook shook his head firmly. It wouldn't be a bother. It'd be a privilege. She swallowed hard. Let me think on it. Take your time, he said. As she pulled away, the roar of their laughter echoed behind her. Full, alive, comforting. For the first time since losing Caleb, Mara felt something rise inside her. Not grief, not fear, hope. Mara spent the next few days in a strange, hopeful limbo. Her house felt lighter somehow, as if Caleb's laughter had seeped back into the walls. She found herself humming while doing chores, placing fresh flowers on the kitchen table, even opening the curtains she'd kept closed for months. One afternoon, while sorting through an old trunk of Caleb's belongings, she found a leather-bound journal she'd never noticed. His handwriting, strong, slanted, filled the pages. Notes on rides he'd taken, sketches of road maps, stories of the angels he once rode beside. And in one entry, written years after he'd left the charter, she found, "If anything ever happens to me, I hope the boys look after Mara. She's braver than she believes." Her breath caught. He hadn't been drifting from them. He'd been counting on them. That evening, Mara drove to the grocery store. She hadn't been out much since Caleb died. But today she walked the aisles with shoulders a little straighter. Strangers greeted her. She smiled back. Life felt possible. When she pulled into her driveway, she froze. A single Hell's Angels helmet sat on her porch with a note tucked inside. 3 words, "Call us. Urgent." Her fingers trembled as she dialed the number written beneath the message. Rook answered on the first ring. "Mara, I found your note. Is everything all right?" Rook exhaled heavily. "Mostly, but we thought you should know before rumors reach you." Mara's heart quickened. "Tell me." "One of our boys spotted a stranger taking photos of your house. Tried to approach, but the guy bolted." Mara's blood ran cold. "Photos? Of my home?" "Yeah," Rook said gently. "Could be nothing. Could be someone connected to Caleb's past." Mara sat down hard on her porch steps. "Caleb didn't owe anyone anything, did he?" Rook hesitated. "Not long, but long enough. Caleb was a good man, but life before you wasn't simple. Some people hold grudges longer than they should." Mara closed her eyes, trying to breathe past the surge of fear. "Are you saying someone's coming after me?" "No," Rook said firmly. "I'm saying we're watching. We don't let widows stand alone." She swallowed a shaky sigh. "What should I do?" "Keep your lights on. Lock your doors. And tomorrow morning, expect company." Mara managed a faint smile. "Your club." "All of us," Rook replied. "Family protects family." True to Rook's word, the next morning Mara woke to the distant growl of engines, dozens of them, rolling through Redwater Ridge like a protective tide. She stepped onto her porch with coffee in hand, wrapped in Caleb's vest for comfort. The entire Iron Mesa charter filled her street, forming a shield of chrome and leather. Longshot approached first. "Morning, Mara. Hope we didn't wake the neighbors." "You absolutely did," she laughed softly. "But I'm grateful." Rook joined them, scanning the perimeter. "You sleep all right?" "As well as I could." "Good. Because today, we're finishing Caleb's bike." Mara blinked. "Today?" Tide grinned. "We pushed hard. Wanted you to have something to hold on to." The men unloaded polished parts, gleaming fenders, and a newly painted midnight blue tank. Deep, glossy, beautiful. Mara gasped. "It's stunning." Rook nodded. "We'll assemble it here, in your yard." "Thought Caleb might like that." Mara pressed a hand to her heart. "Thank you." As the bikers set up stands and tools, neighbors peeked through curtains, curious but respectful. Mara watched, overwhelmed. These weren't just bikers. They were guardians. The family Caleb hoped she'd find, and she finally had. The street transformed into an outdoor workshop. Tools clicked, wrenches spun, and polished chrome gleamed beneath the late morning sun. Children from the neighborhood sat on porches, fascinated by the teamwork and careful precision. Longshot guided the younger members, explaining each step like a master craftsman teaching apprentices. Mara hovered nearby, trying not to cry every time she recognized a piece Caleb had lovingly restored years ago. As Rook tightened a final bolt, he leaned back. "All right, Mara. She's ready." Tide wiped his hands. "She's a beauty again." Mara approached the motorcycle, reborn, shining, whole. Midnight blue paint shimmered like starlit water. Chrome accents reflected the sky. Caleb's initials were etched on the side of the tank in silver script. Mara touched the handlebars. "Caleb, you'd love this." Her voice cracked. Rook placed a gentle hand on her back. "He'd love seeing you smile." She looked up at him, tears welling. "It's been so long since I've felt This. Connected? He asked. She nodded. Rook's gaze softened. You're not alone, Mara. Not anymore. As the bike idled softly, almost as if breathing again, Mara felt the impossible. The weight of grief finally lifting, one heartbeat at a time. Mara stood beside the finished Harley, trembling with a mix of awe, grief, and something she hadn't felt in months. Pride. It's like seeing a part of him again, she whispered. Rook nodded. Then let's honor him properly. Longshot rolled forward a leather jacket, not Caleb's old one, but a beautifully restored Hell's Angels cut with his name stitched on the inside. We made this for the memorial ride, she said. Mara's breath caught. You made this for him? For him, Rook said. And for you to carry. Mara's hands shook as she traced the stitching. I don't know how to thank you, Tide grinned. By coming with us. The words hit her like a soft shock. With you? On the ride. She stared at the sea of bikes. The idea terrified her, thrilled her. Rook stepped closer. You don't have to ride on a bike. You can sit in the support truck. Or, he hesitated. You can ride behind me. Mara swallowed hard. Would that be allowed? Rook smiled warmly. Mara, today your family. Anything's allowed. She tightened her grip on the jacket. Then yes, I'll ride. The angels erupted in cheers. The angels prepared Mara for the memorial ride with the same gentleness one might show royalty. Longshot helped her into a light riding jacket. Tide fastened a small helmet under her chin, adjusting the strap so it didn't pinch. Mara laughed nervously. I haven't been on a motorcycle since, well, ever. Rook approached, steady and patient. You don't have to do anything except hold on. He offered his hand. She took it. When she climbed onto the back of Rook's Harley, her heart pounded so loudly she feared everyone could hear it. But when she settled in, tucking Caleb's restored vest around her waist, she felt something shift, fear replaced by warmth, by memory, by purpose. The street buzzed as 30 engines rumbled to life. Neighbors stepped onto porches. A few saluted. Children waved. In a slow, respectful formation, the entire charter pulled away from Redwater Ridge, Mara riding among them as their honored guest. As they hit the open road, wind rushing against her face, Mara felt something she hadn't felt in a year. Alive. Completely, breathtakingly alive. The procession wound through the mesas, sunlight catching on chrome and leather like sparks. Mara held Rook's jacket lightly, trusting him the way she once trusted Caleb. The rhythmic thunder of engines vibrated through her spine, steady and reassuring. This wasn't noise, it was a heartbeat. Their heartbeat. At a scenic overlook Caleb used to love, Rook raised his hand and the formation slowed, then stopped. The angels gathered around the restored Harley, its midnight blue tank glowing beneath the afternoon sun. Mara dismounted carefully, her legs shaky but her spirit steady. Rook opened a small leather pouch. We thought you might want to be the one, he said. Inside was Caleb's old key, polished, worn from his hands, shaped by years of miles. Mara gasped softly. You saved this. Longshot nodded. He gave it to Rook the day he left the charter. Told him to hold onto it, till the right time. Mara cupped the key in her palm, feeling its warmth. This is the right time. Rook smiled. Then start her. Mara inserted the key into the ignition. When she turned it, the Harley roared, deep, strong, alive again. Every biker bowed their head. The sound of Caleb's engine, finally awake after all these years, shook something loose inside Mara. She pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, tears streaming freely. Caleb, she whispered, voice cracking. You made it home. Rook placed a steady hand on her shoulder. He's riding with you today. The angels formed a half-circle around the bike. Tide stepped forward, holding a small metal plaque etched with the words, in memory of Caleb Jensen, brother, rider, friend. They mounted it discreetly near the engine. Mara traced the letters, overcome. Longshot handed her a single white rose. Place it where your heart tells you. Mara tucked it between the handlebars. The wind lifted the petals gently, as if approving her choice. Then Rook asked, "You ready?" Mara nodded. They rode again, this time with Caleb's Harley rumbling behind Rook, escorted like a cherished relic. Mara rode in the truck for this stretch, watching the motorcycle glide through the desert like a spirit set free. She closed her eyes, imagining Caleb beside her, grinning, wind in his hair. For the first time, the memory didn't break her. It healed her. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, the ride returned to Redwater Ridge, where neighbors had gathered, drawn by the echoing rumble. Children held homemade signs that read, "Welcome home, Caleb," and "Thank you, angels." Mara stepped out of the truck and stared, stunned. Rook leaned over. "The town heard what you did for Caleb. They wanted to honor him too." Mara looked around, tears sparkling. "I thought people forgot him." Longshot shook her head. "Not a chance." Rook guided her to a small wooden bench they'd arranged near the old walnut tree in her yard. A plaque was fixed to the seat, "Caleb's spot, for every sunrise he loved." Mara trembled, sitting down slowly. "He used to drink his morning coffee here." Tide added gently, "Now you can too." The angels parked the restored Harley under the tree, its engine ticking softly as it cooled. Neighbors applauded quietly. Mara pressed a hand to her heart. "You've given me more than a bike," she whispered. "You've given me my husband back." Rook knelt beside her. "No, Mara. We just reminded you he never left." Night settled softly over Redwater Ridge. The angels lingered, sharing stories of Caleb, funny ones, wild ones, tender ones. Mara laughed for the first time in months, her heart finally able to hold joy without breaking. When the time came for them to leave, Rook approached her. "We'll check in on you," he said. "Not because we have to, because we want to." Mara touched his arm. "You brought me back to life." Rook smiled. "Caleb did that. We just delivered the message." The engines roared to life one last time, echoing across the ridge. Mara stood on her porch, wrapped in Caleb's vest, watching the sea of taillights fade into the distance. Harley gleamed beneath the tree, proud and reborn. In the quiet that followed, Mara whispered into the night, "I'm all right, my love. I'm finally all right." A soft breeze brushed past her, warm and familiar. She closed her eyes, smiling. For the first time since Caleb's passing, she felt whole. If the story touched your heart, stay with us. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more powerful biker stories that honor loyalty, love, and the families we build along the way. You're part of the ride now,